Webcam, please work. Awesome. Emily got there before me. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you guys like the demo. Now I have someone super special to introduce. I have with me Emily Slavik, president of Algo, whom I'll be speaking about Algo and SPPI experience. Hey, Emily, how are you doing?
Excellent. How are you today, Olivia?
I'm good. Super excited to have this chat with you. Thanks so much for joining. Well, for the audience, would you be able to tell us a little bit about yourself and your role?
Yeah, I would love to. Emily Slavik here. I'm based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So I heard a lot of Texas coming from the API team, but I'm right here in the Midwest. I'm the president of Algo. So I oversee and lead different departments at Algo, including product management, which I'm sure the API and other team members here recognize and appreciate, customer success, implementation, marketing, to name a few. So lots of busyness in that front. A little bit about myself. I actually come from being a seller and working within a retailer myself, actually. So I've worked for some bigger companies like Disney and Best Buy and things like that. So I appreciate a lot of the sellers and different team members hopping on here because I've been in your shoes, if you will. But excited to be here today and talk a little bit about Algo and how we can help you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing the background and context a little bit about yourself as well. Can you tell us about your organization's mission and the problem it's trying to solve with Algo?
Absolutely. So Algo, we are a business intelligence company. And within that, we actually are also a third-party integration provider. So hence the reason why we're here today is data and integrating data is really important to us and foundational. And beyond that, we also provide some analytics and planning modules for supply chain and sales. So like I said, at the heart of what we do, it's integration and data management, but we also add intelligence like machine learning and AI on top of that with some of our other solutions as well.
That is so cool. Thank you for sharing. You guys, if you heard about Algo, drop a note in the chat. I'd be really curious to see that. And also, can you tell us a little bit about the success story with Microsoft? What were Microsoft business goals that led to adopting SPPI?
Absolutely. So one case, we help a lot of suppliers connect to retailer data and information. So as you said, one example is Microsoft. And within Microsoft, the example of the type of goods that they were selling would be computing, like their Surface laptop, Xbox, like Xbox, their games, accessories, all of those types of hard goods or other goods that a supplier could be selling through Amazon. And really what they were looking for was an overall data modernization initiative that's happening. So, they have manual files they use, EDI, but they're really looking to get into and invest into API. And there's a lot of reasons, and we'll kind of talk more about that, but some of the main ones were just timeliness of how fast the data would be coming, being able to make sure that they had accurate data, and also making sure it's standardized globally. So as the team here was talking about with API for Amazon, every country has different connections and maybe different ways they're getting the information, and they wanted to kind of standardize it to make sure there's really a single source of truth.
Right. Well, that's so awesome to hear that this opportunity to create such a cool tool with Microsoft. Can you maybe describe Microsoft's environment prior to SPAPI, just so we can have a comparison?
Yeah, so Microsoft was utilizing EDI, so as I kind of had noted, and they were having a little bit of trouble with that, some delayed data or sometimes missing, so it was difficult for them to always get everything that they were wanting, as well as kind of exporting some information out of Vendor Central. So there was kind of manual data that was coming together. So they were looking for a solution overall to figure out, again, how to automate that and make sure that it was more timely and accurate. And so I know we'll talk a little bit about it, but that they kind of explored different options of how should we integrate that? Should we do that ourselves in-house, or should we, find another expert? And that's actually where Algo came in. So they partnered with us because we are an Amazon API specialist and said, based on what we have seen with you on how you can cleanse and validate the information, we think a partnership with you would be really great to make sure that all of our data modernization initiative kind of really comes to life.
Okay. I mean, if you reduce few days, that's awesome. That's a really cool partnership. Maybe walk me through like the thought process of when Microsoft chose SP API. Like, what were some key motivators or like decision drivers that led to really this SP API in the end?
Yeah, so one piece was kind of the flexibility to be able to grab the data whenever they wanted for however back in history they would like. So again, example of EDI being pushed daily with a certain day, that's kind of one capability. But API, as mentioned in one of the polls, you can go all the way back to 4 years. So if you need to replace information or even get history, all of that's available with an API, and you can pull it real time whenever you need to view that information and not wait. So that was definitely one of the most important factors. And then, as you described, previously they would be looking at data like 6 to 7 days old, but with API it was closer to 2 to 3 days old. So that was a huge improvement and really helps with a lot of business outcomes for them. So sales teams, supply chain teams will be able to see the results of the performance or inventory position to be able to better react and really drive more sales. So those are some of the factors. And then some of the additional reasons why they decided to go with Algo, as I said, we kind of have specialized experience with the Amazon API, but also globally we have experience. So whether that's North America, Latin America, APAC, EMEA, all of those pieces. And then there was two other reasons. One was speed. So they wanted to get it set up quickly. And even with Microsoft, we were able to set it all up within 5 weeks, which is really fast for them. So that's kind of one of Algo's superpowers, if you will, is just really quick integrations. And as you can see from the slide here, from Amazon, Algo pulls and connects with the data, and then it really importantly cleanse and validates it to make sure that it's accurate. There's not duplicate items. Make sure that it's timely of when it needs to arrive, and then feed it properly into the Microsoft system. So it's not just integration. That's kind of one of those tricky parts with data. It's making sure that it's accurate and having all of the right system and alerts in place to make sure that that is exactly what you need. And then the very last piece I would say why Microsoft was interested in partnering with us is on top of that data integration, we also provide them analytics, so being able to see it, as well as some forecasting and machine learning planning capabilities. So, again, always happy to help with integration, but those are some additional pieces that Algo can provide as well.
Wow, that was awesome. That was like a great overview of Algo, not just in terms of like integration, but all these extra things that comes along with Algo. Now then, I'm sure everyone is curious to know which APIs are they using and how.
Yeah, so some of the key, I was excited when you had all those different types of APIs at Amazon here. You guys have a suite of many different kinds. Microsoft, they use primarily the ones from the vendor retail analytics. So all the ones from the vendor sales report and the inventory report, so that they could really understand by item, how much is something selling, how much inventory do they have on hand. So that's really some of the basics that we connect with. But what we've been finding over time is connections even on forecasting, on PPM, as someone said, the famous PPM report, that one is important, as well as order management. And that one is, no joke. There's a lot that goes into order management and making sure that that's accurate. So that also is incredibly important as well.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. If you're able to share more, is there anything in particular like that SPAP has enabled Microsoft to do that they couldn't do before? Maybe how has this impacted their mission?
Definitely. So some of the call outs there, I would say that they've seen improvements on would be new product launches. So when a
Okay.
new product comes out, every single day really counts to see how well is it selling and from where. And so those couple of days of getting timely information has really helped them know where should they send that product, which DC, so that they don't lose out on any sales. So that I would say is something they found really right away. Another would be monitoring in stocks to again quickly see, oh, something approaching out of stock, is it going to be close, to make sure that they can get inventory there right away, because once it's out of stock, you're losing sales. So
Yes.
again, the timeliness of that is super important. So I would say that they've seen multiple percentage points of improvement in both inventory in stock as well as sales, which is exciting.
Mhm.
And then one other win that kind of came out of fruition from our partnership with Microsoft was Algo did kind of a historical review of data to see all of the data that was already in the system, was it accurate? And we could do that because of API and kind of going back in history. And what Algo found was multi-million dollars worth of discrepancies. So, you know, that alone, just kind of correcting that to make sure that that is accurate was a huge business win before, you know, the project even really got started. So they've been very excited, I would say, on the partnership that Algo has provided with that integration.
Wow, that discrepancy is that amount is crazy. That's insane to hear. That's awesome. I know we have a lot of vendors on the line. Based on your experience, as a last question, and based on your experience working with, you know, vendors, is there any advice that you would give for the audience on the line when integrating with SPAPI?
Yeah, I would say, you know, some of my considerations or tips would be around just the importance of data monetization. So as noted, every single day counts, and having accurate data is really important to drive your business outcomes, whether that's in stock percent or maximizing sales. So, you know, while some might debate, you know, what's the right time, I would say the right time is now to make sure that you're ready and set up for next year. Really, as everybody knows, it can kind of take up a couple of weeks. So getting a jump start now is really important. And then, you know, my other call out too is sometimes all of this can be a little bit overwhelming, or especially when you think about a global
Yeah.
project at scale. So Algo is definitely here to help. Would love to chat with anybody on the call here that wanted to learn a little bit more about Algo services. As I said, some of the important factors are just overall speed, our global capability, alert systems, and then other tools that can kind of help drive the business. And the last thing that I would kind of call out and say too is we actually just this morning got approved to do a special pricing for anybody on the webinar. So if anyone's watching the webinar and
Wow.
they're interested to learn a little bit more, you know, can contact Algo at api@algo.com, and we can tell you a little bit about that. But make sure that you mention that you watched the webinar, because it's been such an awesome event today. Wanted to, you know, make sure everybody got something a little special.
That is so cool. Wait, this is the first time I heard about it too. But, you know, for folks on the line, if you guys are interested, make sure to grab this awesome opportunity. Well, that's all I had. Thank you so much, Emily, for sharing with us and the story with the Microsoft. And once again, if anyone has questions, any interest in Algo, please feel free to reach out at api@algo.com. And this will also be included, it should already be included in the handout that was already provided. Thank you so much, Emily, for your time today.